Without the ones like you working tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. No matter your industry, Grainger's here for you with professional-grade supplies. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Virginia. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to this week's Harness Racing Alumni Show. I'm Freddie Hudson, and I'm here today with Trade Martin, Bob Marks, along with Andy Cohen with his weekly Keep and Pace update. The Harness Racing Alumni Show is the #1 harness racing podcast in North America. We have sponsorships and advertising spots available. For more information, email rrtrotten@outlook.com or visit ustrots.com. The statements and opinions of our guests are their personal opinions and beliefs, and it does not necessarily represent the opinions of the Harness Racing Alumni Show or of its host.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show with your hosts, Freddie Hudson and Trade Martin.
Joining us today is Standardbred Trainer Tim Tawddle, whose horse, Time Is On My Side, is in the 3-year-old Breeders' Crown Final, which will be contested this Saturday at the Meadowlands. Tim, welcome to the Harness Racing Alumni Show.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Tim, congratulations for making the Breeders' Crown Finals, first of all.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's always a real thrill and certainly a treat to be involved in the big races like this.
Tim, tell us a little bit about Time Is On My Side and your relationship with Anthony MacDonald, who is the lead trainer for the stable.
Right. Well, he's got multiple trainers. I happen to be one of them. He's like the quarterback of a big team, right? He oversees everything. He calls most of the plays, and we do our damnedest to execute. But I've got Time Is On My Side as one of the horses I have for him. Obviously, he's a really nice colt, and he's a special horse to myself and my family. We trained his mother years ago, Mach Around the Clock, and then the firstborn out of the family, we trained a horse called Like Clockwork. It was a really nice horse here at the Meadows, and the rest went through public auction, and we owned a couple of those, Forever Boy being one of them, and he was a nice horse, but this is by far the best one out of the family.
Yeah, well, you're a trained Walk Around the Clock, and I did hear that you bid on Time Is On My Side, and Anthony ended up getting Time Is On My Side, and you ended up with the horse as the trainer anyhow.
Yeah, everything happens for reasons in life and in this business, and I had at the time my main client was David Cohen for Mickey Ray's stable, and he really didn't like the colt. But I wanted him, and obviously in the worst way. I couldn't live without him. So I put a group together to buy him on my own, and then of course David wanted to be involved. So we had funding up to $125,000, and it looked like we were going to buy him right at $125. And there was a lull in the action. I was waiting for the hammer to drop, and then that's when Anthony was in the back ring. Decided the colt was selling too cheap, and he jumped up off his stool and started to bid. So we chased him a little bit. We went to 160, and we were out of our comfort zone and let him go. Anthony bought him for 165, and then felt bad after realizing that he was competing against us, and he offered to give us the ticket back, but I just didn't have the support, so we let it be. And so Anthony had the horse in Ontario as a 2-year-old. He broke him there and trained him down. He won a maiden up there. But he was struggling. He was growthy and immature, and he did the right thing. He castrated the colt and turned him out. And when he brought him back at 3, he gave him to me to train. And really was a wonderful process, watching the horse develop. He came back through the wintertime, and, he won his way through the bottom classes. And he set a nice series here at the Meadows, and it allowed him to get his his legs and his confidence under him before he had to, really jump up to the big stage. But at every start, you could see him learning and developing, and it was really special to watch.
Now you trained the dam Walk Around the Clock. Do you see any similarities between the two?
I do. I mean, I didn't break her a trainer. Seth Rosenfeld bred her and sold her at public auction, and Dave Maneri had her at 2 and 3. And she was a really nice filly. In fact, she raced in the the Jugette rather. And then she went to auction at Harrisburg, and Seth bought her back to breed. And he said, "Hey, I got a mare I'm going to send you to race for a month or two until breeding season." And when she got to me at the Meadows, she just took off. I mean, she was nice to begin with, but she really found her comfort zone in the mare's open pace at the Meadows, and she was a pretty dominant figure for a long time. So he opted to race her, and then he did try to breed her while she was racing through semen transport and that kind of thing. It didn't work out. Finally, when it was time to retire her, she was better with live cover. But she was a big, strong, powerful mare, and she could leave the gate like a runner, or she could be taken off and race from behind. And after at the Meadows, at least the old rules were when you win 3 in a row, you had to sit out, and then once you won a couple, you were assigned the outside. Well, as soon as she won a couple, she was stuck on the outside, and I thought, oh man, this is the worst. But she was comfortable racing off the back and swooping him at the end, and she got labeled as a closer, which was great, but she was anything but. She was much happier on the front end. And this guy is much like her. He's a big, strong guy. He can race from either way, but I think he does his best work on the front.
Now, Tim, you also won a Breeders' Crown as a driver with Hardy Hanover. Tell us a little bit about Hardy Hanover.
You know what? She's much like this horse here. Big, strong horse. She was a little bit temperamental, where he is not. This is a happy colt. Every day is a joy. She was nice to work around, but she was a big brute, and she wasn't always focused on the racetrack. She made a couple breaks over her career that cost her, one being in the Jug when she was heavy favorite, and another on John Campbell when she was heavy favorite in the race at Garden State. I can't remember which one it was, but she was just a little bit quirky, but she was, my goodness, she was a big, strong, fast filly, way better than her peers at the time that year.
Yep. Now, you also,
for a young guy that was getting the driver against the top guys, she made me look awful good.
Tim, you also had Forever Boy, who under your training earned over $1 million. I just want to compliment you on an excellent job of managing that horse.
Thank you. Yeah, he was a wonderful horse. He still is. He's doing great things at Plain Ridge, and I still own him. Our own part of him. He was a great horse for us, and he allowed us to travel and play in all the top events across the country, and we had a ball. We really did. He was a real special horse for us.
Okay. My last thing here, tell us a little bit about your stable, some of your upcoming yearling purchases and plans to purchase.
Yeah, I have, right now I only have one yearling in the barn, and that's a colt I bought with Seth Rosenfeld at Lexington. Tried to get a couple more for clients and was unsuccessful. I'll end up at Harrisburg, where I hope to get a handful more. And, after that, it's going to be wait and see. Anthony has a raft of them. He always does. And he breaks them and trains them down himself. His main headquarters is Northfield, where he keeps, 70 plus. And it'll be later on in the season, over the winter, when he starts to farm them out. So that's when I'll get filled up with more.
Yeah. My last thing here, I see Anthony's down to drive your horse this weekend. Is that still the plan?
Yep, that's the plan. He'll be there. Yeah, he's actually there Friday to drive the trotter he has that Jason McGinnis trains. His name is Memento Mori. He didn't have much luck in the draw, and then he'll drive forever. He'll drive Timeisonmyside Saturday night.
Trey, did you have anything to add?
No, I wish you best of luck in the race. How fast is that horse you were talking about? How fast has he been?
He's been race timed in 40. Last week was as fast as 48.4.
Wow, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, he's capable of more. I really think we haven't seen the best of him. In fact, when Anthony drove him last week, he did race great. He said he was running out a little bit, and more than he was comfortable with, which is usually his way. He always likes to ride the left line and bear out. But he asked for a couple changes. And the horse, we kept him in New York at Mark Ford Training Center for the week. So I drove last night. I drove after work 6 hours to New York. I trained him early this morning, and I'm headed on my way back to the Meadows now. But with the changes, he trained exceptionally well. He's coming into the race very sharp, and I'm really excited for the weekend. I really hope things go our way. I know there's.
Well, we wish you the best of luck in the race. I know it's a tough race. We hope you do well.
Absolutely. Tim, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today to join us. It's an honor to have you on the show.
It's an honor for me as always. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Now, over to Andy for this week's Keepin' Pace Weekly Update.
Hi, Fred. Thanks. This coming week, I'm actually going to finally publish what I was working on last week, which was that look at the no-effect thresholds and the way the USTA is trying to implement them in harness racing. Also going to take a little bit of a closer look at some of these new lawsuits that are being filed against the federal integrity law. So that's on tap for the next Keeping Pace column at Pollock Report. Thanks, Fred. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Andy. That's a wrap for this week's show. Thanks for listening. Please join us again next week.
The Harness Racing Alumni Show